official flat earth and globe discussion, I would like to challenge the flat earthers in this group to provide proper scientific evidence that the earth is flat. No name calling, insults, or vulgar remarks. Provide links to your evidence. You flirters always complain and carry on because glad bees are bullies, glad bees are this and that. So put up your evidence. Nathan Glover replies, top contributor, I have a spiritual connection to the earth and I can feel that it's stationary. Can't really provide a link for that, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. Also, the Georgia Guidestones had an eye-sized hole drilled through one of the massive stones. You could look through this hole any time of night, any night of the year and see Polaris. It actually proved the earth doesn't rotate until somebody blew it up. Now, I'm not claiming to know if the earth is flat, but I do know it's stationary, so that means it can't be spherical, as mainstream science has no explanation for how this is possible, and what you consider evidence is actually fabricated BS or misinterpretations. So why would you expect flat earth evidence to resemble the falsified globe evidence? And now let's see if my comment is met with the same non-vulgar responses that you requested from the flat earthers. Ryan Duncan replying to Nathan Glover. Nathan Glover, take your Yoda as dollar to remediate because your feelings are wrong. Earth is not stationary. No celestial object is stationary. Nathan Glover responds, Earth is not a celestial object, mate. Everything you see in the sky revolves around us. Imagine that we are a massive cosmic clock. The Earth is the clock face that remains fixed and unmoving. The sun's movements govern the days, the moon governs the months, and the stars mark the passing of the years. Like a clock, one complete rotation is made up of 12 parts, which are the 12 signs of the zodiac. Each part is called an age, which is made up of 2160 years, with one complete rotation happening every 25920 years. This is why we always see the same constellations in the sky. The magnetic north is constantly moving and is represented by a different star every age. Polaris is not a fixed point, it's just the center point of rotation for our current age. There is a world clock in Eastern Europe that demonstrates all of this and gives more accurate predictions than modern day astrology does. I noticed you didn't respond to what I said about the Georgia Guidestones. Why is that? Richard Paul Hall replies, Nathan Glover. Also, the Georgia Guidestones had an eye-sized hole drilled through one of the massive stones. You could look through this hole any time of night, any night of the year, and see Polaris. It actually proved the Earth doesn't rotate until somebody blew it up. No, it did not. The Earth does orbit the Sun, and if you make very careful measurements, you will find that Polaris appears to trace a tiny circle in the sky like every other star. Nathan Glover responds, Richard Paul Hall, yes, it did. It was well documented. Your denial of a fact is not a valid response. I never said Polaris doesn't move, but every other star, apart from the wandering stars, clearly rotate around it. There are countless long exposure time-lapse videos documenting this. There are also videos and images documenting the view hole and Polaris being viewed all night. If this is the case, then provide the scientific explanation that makes this possible if the viewing point is moving with the rotation. I studied advanced physics and geometry, and I could not find any explanation that proves this is possible if the Earth is rotating. It was only after science failed to answer this that I turned to a more spiritual explanation, Nathan replying to Richard Paul Hall. Richard Paul Hall, I actually create my own content on this subject, and I did an episode about the hole in the Guidestones and how it proves the Earth doesn't rotate, and 1 week later somebody blew it up. Pretty big coincidence, don't you think? Richard Paul Hall responds, only science deniers made that erroneous claim, and the documentation showed the Earth rotates daily and orbits the Sun. You presented no facts. Stars appear to rotate around Polaris. Polaris appears to rotate around a central point as well, but the stars do not rotate about a point. The Earth rotates daily. Nathan Glover replying to Richard Paul Hall, I have provided photographic and video evidence. You have provided nothing. So your entire response is basically, no, it didn't. No, it's not. And it looks like it does, but it doesn't. And no evidence to support your objection. Not very scientific now, is it? Richard Paul Hall responds. So did many people. Your analysis was incorrect. Yes, a coincidence, a meaningless coincidence. Reply of Nathan Richard Paul Hall. Yeah, I'm done engaging with you and your childish responses. If you have nothing to add
debate, maybe you shouldn't join in. You're only making the rest of the Globers look uneducated. Replying to Richard Paul Hall, cancel right a public reply. 436 replies, you shouldn't join in. You're only making the rest of the Globers look uneducated. Richard Paul Hall replies, Nathan Glover, you have made unsupported claims that disagree with established science. You have presented no supporting evidence. You have not demonstrated that standard science is incorrect. Nathan responds, Richard Paul Hall, only because you deny my presented evidence regarding the Guidestones. You won't even acknowledge them. It's like you are pretending that it doesn't exist. You deny with no counter-evidence. It's hard to present evidence if that evidence is so easily dismissed without due process. Paul Warburton interjects. Top contributor Nathan Glover Polaris appears to move in a small circle approximately in line with the Earth's celestial pole. C. 4,000 years ago, Thuban was closest, and by the 41st century, Gamma Cephei will be the new North Star. The hole in the Guidestones was big enough to include what is, at a range of 433 light years, a vast swathe of the universe. Nathan responds, Paul Warburton, yes, but if the Earth was rotating, then it would be impossible to see Polaris through the hole all night based on the location of the viewing point. There are many unprovable assumptions to try explain this phenomenon, but none actually offer evidence that debunks it. The landmass directly under Polaris, also known as the North Star, is the Arctic region, specifically the Arctic Ocean and the northernmost parts of land masses like Greenland, Canada, and Russia. The Guidestones were not America's Stonehenge. They were constructed in the early 1980s and contained a modern-day 10 Commandments. The construction was overseen and paid for by a group of anonymous millionaires. They were not used for navigation. They were an instruction manual for humans to restart civilization following a catastrophic event. The viewing hole was largely unknown until I made a documentary detailing how it proved the Earth doesn't rotate, and then 1 week later they were mysteriously destroyed. Even the best AI can't give a plausible explanation for this, yet its parameters are set to reject the notion of a non-rotating Earth, so its answers are ambiguous at best. I also studied psychology, so I'm aware of the tactics used to manipulate public perception. Even though I'm open to the spiritual world, my investigations and findings are very much rooted in following the scientific method. And for all its unproven claims, it seems that AI is not that way inclined. I've found that AI will often be caught lying or purposely misunderstanding an entire argument based on the use of one word taken out of context. I'm wondering if AI is able to refuse to follow its set parameters in light of compelling evidence, or is it simply purely reactive and unable to think for itself, as I suspect it is.